So it's Monday. I already got enough people in here. I'm going to go ahead and start the YouTube highlight from right here. This is going to be the beta tank QA stuff. It's going to focus on just beta stuff in general as far as tanking goes. There's some blue posts I want to go over. It's not it's not going to be quite as interactive today because beta is down, and I can't really control that. The timing of the show is going to happen regardless. So we're going to fill an hour. We don't have to have beta active. What I'm going to do as a result of beta being down is I've got a couple of posts that I'm going to put in chat. And a couple of these posts that I'm going to put in chat that I'm going to throw them in there, and then we'll go over some of the Blizzard responses of the current tank model and things like that. Okay, so yeah, and if you guys have questions about any of this stuff, you can just go ahead and ask any questions that you have, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so and all this stuff's going to be uploaded on YouTube. You guys know how that works. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this started, okay? I want to go ahead and start with, this was probably the Blockbuster post. We'll go ahead and link that one, some of the blue stuff that they said in here. I'll throw this one in there first. We can start with this. This one's not really a game breaker, but just kind of what they go over here is they want tanks to care about expertise and hit as mitigation stats because hitting a boss leads to resources, which leads to higher survival. We could make gear with just dodge, parry, stamina, mastery, blah, blah, blah. We think that gets boring. I'm not really sure how they're going to make it to the point to where you actually care more about hit and expertise as you do about dodge and parry, because you're going to need so much of it. I don't think that the loss is, you know what I mean, like, You're not expertise capping as a tank. You're not getting the what is it, 16% or so. It's some ridiculous number that I haven't even cared about since the end of Wrath, or somewhere around there. I mean, you may be able to hit cap, but even then, I mean, you're wasting so many stats on it's like take the first tier for example. On my Death Knight, I had 0% hit, like literally 0.2% hit. And, I mean, that was back when you wanted Death Strike to land. But I wasn't comfortable sacrificing, hundreds of points of parry and dodge to get that to happen. You know what I mean? I mean, you're sacrificing several percent of dodge and parry just to increase your chances of not getting a miss, but you can still get a parry. I mean, it's just no way you go about it, or you're going to be able to eliminate it from the table. And in my opinion, it's just not worth it. I understand that they will be more attractive if they're tied into your survival stats by wanting your attacks to hit, but I don't think they're ever going to get to the point to where they're able to equalize them with dodge, parry, and mastery. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Okay, let's see here. This other one we're going to go through real quick. And we're just going to go around three of these and kind of open it up to questions and let you guys ask anything you guys have as far as how beta goes and things like that. Okay, this one is it's more directed at monk stuff. I'm not going to go through and read all this stuff that this guy posted here, but he's just going over pros and cons to the monk and things like that. And the Blizzard comes in, and monks are a new class. They'll be iterating on them quite a bit and changing mechanics. That's a given, man. I mean, introducing an entirely new class. There's so much stuff that's going to change with a monk. If you guys go back to the spreadsheet that we made, if you go back to the spreadsheet that we made, you look at things like, just their cooldowns feel kind of just, the guard seems pretty, like it's going to fit pretty well. I don't know really the dematerialize. I mean, it's only 3 seconds. It's channeled. Somebody said they were going to put a glyph in that makes it not happen. That doesn't seem that big of a deal. I mean, it's a little more OP than AMS, and AMS is already considered OP. So, I mean, it's like, how do you really justify making something better than AMS? But, I mean, if that's their niche, that's their niche. Their last stand's pretty unique. It gives you a lot more health than the other ones do, but you can't get healed. You know what I mean? So I can see a lot of situations where you would want to pop that, get enough HP to survive the burst, and then cancel the aura because you wouldn't want it active for 20 seconds. You know what I mean? So yeah, I could definitely see that being the case where you would, pop Fortifying Brew, get hit by, I mean, I keep going back to these incidents, but I mean, this is just because it's the, it's literally like the, what's the best way to put it? When something is just made for that, like an Impale or a Soul Reaper, there's a word for it, I can't really think of it off the top of my head. Like a Soul Reaper and Impale, I mean, that's your exact ability that you're kind of trying to compare these moves to use for. Ideal, that's one of them. That wasn't really what I was looking for. I can't think of it at the, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't get it out. But anyways, yeah, I say an Impale's coming. You pop your Fortifying Brew, and it gives you 100% HP, and then boom, you live through it. Okay, now you need to get healed because there's still going to be a lot more damage coming. You can't afford to not get healed for 20 seconds. Okay, bam, I cancel aura. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I can see that being a very, very, good situation for that to be used in. I know they were talking about making Expel Harm generate Chi. Because right now, I mean, the biggest knock with the Monk tank is there's only one ability to generate Chi, and that's kind of annoying. The biggest thing I have with the Monk is kind of how their shield wall works. I mean, it's a 3-minute cooldown, reduces 99% damage, but it breaks upon melee, and yeah, I mean, I don't really see the point in that. I mean, why do you want a shield wall that breaks upon melee? So, anyways. No, I mean, like, you guys are looking at this like, do I think a Pug tank is going to be able to cancel aura? No, I don't. And I'm not talking about from a Pug tank perspective. I don't really give a shit what Timmy's doing in an LFR. That's not my concern. I'm talking about this shit from a in-game rating perspective where everyone knows what's going on and you're talking about some of the best players playing these classes. That's the context that you find here, like, on this stream. I'm not talking about LFR. I don't really give two shits about balancing LFR because LFR is just made for people to experience content. There's nothing competitive going on in LFR. Okay, but yeah, getting back to the blue posts and some of this stuff. Quick thing, missing jabs. I guess they were losing energy off that. AoE. This is something I didn't really know. What AoE tanking? We agree that monks need a little more ability to cleave. I thought that was actually a troll because they have so many abilities that do AoE damage. Okay. While we're waiting, somebody said beta was up, but I just tried logging on. And it won't let me log on to the actual realm. Yeah, it's still not working. Okay, whatever. We'll get back to that, okay? So, I mean, you've got your little spin kick, you've got your AoE toss from your dizzying haste thing, and you've also got your flame breath. I mean, they've got quite a few AoE attacks, so I'm not sure why they want to give them more AoE damage output. You see here what they're saying. Our intents for Brewmasters is to use Guard, Purifying Brew, and Shuffle as reactive and proactive abilities that we want them to react to damage spikes. So, just to go over each one of those, we'll just trim through them real quick. Guard, that's your Death Strike equivalent. That's what it costs 2 Chi. It puts the shield on you and increases your self-healing done. Okay, and then the other one was it Purifying Brew? There it is, the 45-second cooldown. It costs 1 Chi, and that's what you use to just purify all the staggered damage that's on your character. And then your Shuffle, we put that in here. 20-second cooldown. It costs 2 Chi also. It basically forces your next 3 and melee attacks to stagger. So it's kind of like a shield block somewhat. It's a stagger is basically blocking. It's a 20-second cooldown that costs 2 Chi that forces you to basically block the next 3 melee attacks. But the thing that's unique to a monk block is that you're going to block it for 50%, but you're going to take the other damage as a dot, a damage over time component afterwards. Okay, so let's see. I know you guys are saying you're logging into beta. I'm not sure what's up. I can try running the launcher in a minute. Either way, we don't really need beta to go over what I'm talking about right now. So we'll get to that. We're not yet there with the cooldowns, duration, and costs. When these kinds of numbers we tune constantly. So, I mean, this is just letting you know, like I said, this is shit that's going to change. There's no reason to just be like, oh my god, the sky's falling, things like that, okay? Mechanically, we just think the pieces of the puzzle are there, but they don't fit quite well. They don't fit together quite well yet, okay? that's correct. I agree with exactly what they're saying. I think they've got a good list of cooldowns, a good concept of what they want to do. But, you know, I mean, like, so many of them are channeled. So many of them just don't feel. I mean, like, you know, the avert harm. You know, this is another one. It's just like 1 minute cooldown that gives the raid, I think it was 20% reduced damage, but all the remaining reduced damage percentage is channeled into the monk. So you'd have to pop that in conjunction with another cooldown. It's just kind of like, why are they giving, that's a really strong raid cooldown as long as you can provide the monk with the ability to soak the damage that it's got incoming, like with a PS, with a, you know, Hand of Sack, or, you know, with his own shield wall. I could see that being a situation where you use meditation, but who wants to use your shield wall only when popping a raid cooldown? You know what I mean? They just really need to kind of work on some of the synergy and things like that. And you know, and just looking at all the tanks, it's like, okay, well, now they split Warriors Last Stand. I don't know if you guys saw that post. They're splitting Rallying Cry and Last Stand, so those are no longer intertwined. You basically have Last Stand and you have Rallying Cry. So it doesn't force feed you into using, you know, your Rallying Cry for the raid only. You can still use your Last Stand independently of Rallying Cry, and you can even use Rallying Cry for yourself as well, okay? I'll go ahead and put that post, which is what we're going to go over next. I'll go ahead and throw that in chat. So every time I'm on MMO, it's like lagging. I guess there's just so many people on there. But, you know, we will, see how that goes. And the guy that's saying, would you pop Fortifying Brew and then raid cooldown? No, not really. You wouldn't want a Fortifying Brew and then raid cooldown. What you would want to use with the raid cooldown is something that mitigates the damage, because you're going to be getting a transferred amount of damage from everyone in your raid, okay? So it's not like you want to just have more health. You need to mitigate that damage, because that 200% HP is not really going to do shit for you. You know what I mean? Because the avert harm is canceled once the monk reaches 10%. So you're going to want to be mitigating that damage to be able to soak in more until you get to 10%. The extra health, it's not really doing anything for you. You need to be able to mitigate it, because it's percentage based, if that makes sense, okay? Just looking at a couple things here. We agree that chi generation is too slow. That's kind of what we were talking about. This is where they referenced maybe adding Expel Harm as a possible chi generator. Let's see. Brewmaster procs need a bit more spice. Free Tiger Palm. Yeah, I don't really think that you need to have any ability on any class that's free. You know, it always needs to have a cost of some sort. In current builds, Brewmasters have big health bonus, currently higher than any other tank. We're actively iterating on our tanking numbers for all specs. We need to consider a lot of different situations. You know, single boss, groups, healers, blah, blah, blah. So basically TLDR from the monk shit. A lot of stuff still be done. It seems like they're getting pretty decent idea of where they want to go with it and things like that. They're smart guys for the most part. Should be good in that regard. Okay, so those are the two, you know, like I said, quick posts that I wanted to go over, and then I wanted to go over this main one, because this one's the big one. This is what I just kind of, you know, I just threw this in chat so we can go ahead and go over this. Basically what it's saying, I'll link it again if anybody just joined, because I want you guys to kind of go along with this, because this actually has a pretty big impact on kind of tanking overall and then things like that. But, you know, this is in response to this guy's, like, you know, long post about how he likes tanking and things like that, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, getting in here, it basically says, we think the overall design of tanks in order to build up resources is a sound one. Then they kind of talk about the abilities, which I commented on earlier. I don't think they're ever going to have hit expertise and, you know, crit or any offensive stat be equal to a defensive stat, no matter how you really look at it, okay? I mean, unless you just put such a penalty on the ability not hitting that you're not getting your defensive stats, then sure. But I don't, you know, to my knowledge, that's not really, they're not really going that far with it, you know? It just probably would make your offensive resource. They're basically making all the defensive shit tied into resources, and having a little bit more hit and expertise would expedite your resources, but it's not going to make a, you know, it's not going to be a game-breaking scenario. All right. See, it says, while we agree with feedback on Warriors to a lesser extent, Paladins aren't getting enough out of their block abilities, Shield Walk, Shield Block, and Shield the Righteousness. We erred on the side of making them forgiving so the tanks wouldn't worry about splattering if they failed to use one of those attacks. But we think now we were too conservative. So that's a bonus, you know what I mean? Because whenever we were going through the tank stuff the other day, we were kind of like, this just doesn't seem right. The Druid's got all this like passive mitigation, and now warriors and paladins aren't going to be able to block cap. They're going to be super prone to spike damage. That's kind of what they're saying here, is like maybe we were a little too conservative, and they say to the point that they don't feel visceral. Let's see. You should notice a change in incoming damage when you use those abilities. So we are trying the following changes. Let us know how they feel. Okay, and then this is it. The next generation of shield block. What we're going to try is that it blocks all attacks for 6 seconds. Okay. Furthermore, those blocks have a chance to become crit blocks, which keeps mastery relevant. Okay, so that is a huge, huge, huge change for warriors. Okay, huge change. All right. Let's see. And then it says here for the paladins, we think Shield of Righteousness needs less tweaking since it already has a damage component. It is noticeable when it gets used. However, to make sure it also provides survivability, the initial automatic block will reduce 75% of the damage, while any subsequent blocks during the 6 seconds will reduce block for 50% of incoming damage. Okay, that's basically tying Holy Shield. Since you don't have Holy Shield anymore, it's tying it into your Shield of the Righteousness. Those numbers are subject to iteration, but again, the idea is the mastery will affect the Shield of the Righteousness mitigation. I was talking to my buddy about this. Okay, it doesn't really make sense, because what they're saying here is they're giving the warrior, when you pop shield block, you're good, man. Like, you put shield block up and it's lights out. You are guaranteed to block for the next 6 seconds. And if you're in like a completely physical intake situation, right? You can keep that up almost 100% of the time, okay? You know, we would basically, if you guys are new here, I'll go ahead and throw this in chat. This is basically the beta, tank spreadsheet that we've got going on in the stream here. Okay, shield block costs 60 rage and it's active for 6 seconds. There's no cooldown. Okay, but it costs 60 rage, and you no longer get rage while you're being hit in beta. All right, so keep that in mind. Okay, but back to what I'm trying to get at here is, they're giving the warrior, when you pop shield block, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get shield block up, that's 6 seconds, your lights out. You don't have to worry about spike damage because you have shield block. Not to mention, you also have crit block as a warrior, which can melt block 60%. Okay, but what they're doing to the paladin, it feels like they're still playing the RNG game, because you're going to be able to put Shield of the Righteousness up, and the initial automatic block will reduce 75% of damage. You're basically, they're buffing that up instead of it just being the whatever 50% or whatnot. They're buffing the initial block, so you're guaranteed 1 block when you pop Shield of the Righteousness. Okay, and then it also increases the damage block from any subsequent blocks, but it's not increasing your chance to block. You see what I'm saying? Like, as the warrior, they basically made it a flat out 100% chance. You will block all attacks, everything. But as a paladin, you still have that window where you might not block anything. And what that means is, prepare to get face melted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know. I don't think that's going to stick. I think the more that they play with this and the more they're going to see the numbers, once the raid testing starts, you're going to have a warrior who can keep shield block up almost all the time. You're going to have the DK, which is pretty much untouched with good cooldown management, can avoid spike damage very well, and things like that. I know warriors don't have WOG. Like, I get that. But you got to think about it like, if you're going to take that huge-ass hit, is it worth... just because you're going to be able to WOG, keep in mind, if you're WOGing, you're also not going to be able to refresh your Shield of the Righteousness. You know what I mean? That's what you're choosing to spend that 3 Holy Power on instead of your shield. You know what I'm saying? All I'm getting at is, with this design, the Paladins are still open to a lot more spike damage, regardless of the fact that they're going to be able to, throw up a WOG with no cooldown on it. I get that. That's big. But the point is, you're getting you have that opening to get melted. You know what I mean? Like, take War Master Blackhorn, for example. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about a fight like that. Think about I'm trying to think of another good example. Think about Ragnaros in the final phase. That's cool that you can WOG and all, but the biggest thing in tanking and progression is consistency, okay? And you do not want to have a tank that's got a high probability, or not even necessarily a high probability, enough of a probability of it being a consistent issue of that tank taking that spike damage. That's going to be a liability at that point. So I feel that's going to get revisited. One thing they're going to, we'll get back to that. But it just doesn't mix well, in my opinion. And this is my opinion. You guys can think what you want, but this is, take it for what you will. You also see we agree that Guardian Druid combination of Mastery and Savage Defense feels too passive in comparison with the other plate tanks. This is what I was saying verbatim. You guys remember what I said the past couple weeks. Druid Mastery combined with Savage Defense is too consistent in mitigation. It's almost like you're block capping. That's what I said. That's what I compared it to. And here you have the blue post, okay? They felt it was too passive, which is exactly what I was getting at. We are going to change Savage Defense to a chance to avoid damage, which gives more parity to, say, the Warrior. The Warrior has reliable block, but more random mastery, where the Druid has more reliable mastery with a more random block. I see what they're doing there. We'll have to see how it turns out. You know what I mean? To partially offset this change, Frenzy Regen will do all of its healing instantly. So basically, if you don't, that may mean you're no longer glyphing, or not glyphing. You may no longer, you want to use Frenzy Regen as a self-heal, but that's really weird. I'll have to log on beta to see how that works, because I still think I would maybe lean towards the amplified healing from all healing sources instead of just one burst heal from yourself, but we'll see what's up. Let me see if I missed any questions here. Did they remove Righteous Defense for Paladins? Look, you guys have got tons of questions about beta stuff, man. Go to this spreadsheet. This has everything. This has all the abilities. I'll go ahead and make it full screen. This has all the abilities that are, let me go ahead and get that off here, okay? This has all the abilities that were removed, added, changed, everything, okay? This is your one-stop shop for beta info. If you've got questions, don't ask, read, educate yourself. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing really more annoying than somebody asking a question that's been answered 20 times and it's documented. Take a look at the spreadsheet, read it, learn, okay? All AoE taunts are gone, yes and no. There's some tanks that are going to be able to, like the Warrior Banner, the War Banner for the Warrior. You can AoE taunt off the War Banner. The Death Knight at level 90, if you need an AoE taunt, you can spec into it. They did take away the Pally Strip taunt and did not give them anything to replace it. They did take away the Druid's AoE taunt. I don't remember off the top of my head if they've got a talent or something like that. Even if you did, I didn't pick it in the build that I went, okay? So for the most part, AoE taunts aren't really there. There's a couple classes that are able to do it if they need to, okay? AoE taunting is kind of overrated to begin with, to be honest with you. You just need, I've played without one on a Death Knight for over 2 years now. You just basically need to get good at picking up ads on your own. You don't need an AoE taunt. The only time I would say an AoE taunt comes into play is if another tank dies and you need to get instant threat on everything. Outside of that, with good play, you can pretty much make it happen without an AoE taunt. Okay? Another good point that guy brought up, you can't walk until you have 3 holy power. Yes, that's correct. And it also doesn't give you the Guarded by the Light shield. That's gone. That's no more. So, if you're going to use it, it's got to be a reactive heal. It can't be proactive at this point. Are they just ignoring the Warriors being weak to magic damage? No, they're not. They're giving you a shield barrier. They took out the baked-in shield or spell reduction thing added to shield block, and they separated it. So you have to choose between what you want to do. Do you want to shield block for 60 rage for 6 seconds? Or do you want to shield barrier, which is reducing magic damage taken by 25%? It's not a game breaker, but it's still decent. You know what I mean? And you can keep it rolling if you want to, but at the sacrifice of not having shield block. Okay. And another thing is, they're also, like I said, they're also splitting Rallying Cry and Last Stand. So we'll do that when it's official. We'll go ahead and update this when it's on beta and things like that. But that gives you a little bit more. Okay. Do I think the addition of Monks Blizzard will give us itemized leather tank gear with dodge? No, they won't. It'll be pretty much just like the Druid shit. They're not going to make... I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm always right, but I don't think that they're going to just give a set of gear out that only, tank Druids and tank Monks can use. Because you're going to have DPS Monks, you're going to have Rogues, you're going to have DPS Druids, and things like that. They would, instead of having a set for 3 and a set for 2, they'd rather just have a set for 5 and have you, have you reforge out of the, because pretty much every piece is going to have mastery on it, and the mastery is good regardless if you're a DPS or a tank, so you just need to reforge out of the crit or the haste or the hit, you know what I mean, and put it into dodge or something. So, yeah. Um, let's see. What's my first impression when tanking in MOP? Bottom line is it more fun than Cataclysm? Yeah, I mean, the overall view of kind of how they're going and what they're doing with tanking, I'm a fan of, because they're getting the tanking model more involved, where you have to think about it. It's a constant chess game. And I mean, that's kind of what's drawn me to a DK pretty much, especially this X-Pack. You know, all of Cataclysm, a Death Knight was its own unique thing. You know, you have to get resources, to be, you know, have reactive mitigation. I mean, just things like that. Whereas, you know, a warrior and a paladin, you just kind of sit there, your block works for you. You know, your druid, you just hit your buttons and your RNG, you crit, you get savage defense to proc. A Death Knight was just a constant chess game. And this isn't me being like, oh my god, all the other tanks were face roll. I'm just telling you what it is, guys. You know what I mean? Like, what you will see this coming X-Pack that's in Miss, you will see what I'm saying, okay? All the tanks are going to have a model that requires lots of decision making, and you're going to be able to compare that from the tanks now to the tanks next X-Pack, and you're going to be like, wow, this is a lot more engaging, this is a lot more fun, all that. It is what it is. You know, I'm not trying to shit talk anybody. I'm not saying a druid, a paladin, or warrior is easy to play. Obviously, depends on the level you want to play it at. There's obviously things that you can separate yourself from others. But the model that they're introducing to the game is going to be able to, you know, the gap is going to be, it's going to be huge. You know what I mean? Like the difference between a noob tank and a good tank, it might be here right now, but in MOP, it's going to be here. And yeah, I'm always a fan of shit like that, okay? Let's see. In my opinion, what's the hierarchy of tanks at this point? I'm not really going to get into that. I think that may actually be Rutso, but or somebody with a name like his alt. But you know, it's just too early to tell, dude. I mean, if you made me, if you forced me to give an answer right now, I don't like playing the whole, you know, dodging the question. I would probably say like, I can't even really rate. I can't really rate a monk at all. So I'd just have to leave it out and comment on the 4, and I would probably say like Druid, Death Knight, Warrior, Paladin in that order. You know, Druid being the strongest and Paladin being the weakest at the moment. But beta, early, changes are coming. Don't start the witch hunt, you know what I'm saying? But Paladin does need some work. It definitely does. You know, and I think they'll see that, and you guys can mark my words. It will have lots of changes during this beta testing period. Okay? Do you think any prot warriors will pick up Recklessness? Does it still give the negative effects? You don't pick it up. It's baked in. It's baseline. And yes, you can glyph it to not have the extra damage, but I even pop it on my warrior right now. There's some situations where you don't want to pop it, but usually popping it on the pull, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you got a lot of heals and shields on you on the pull anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. It's a good opener. Yeah, and Warriors will also have Avatar as well as a spec, or as a talent in their spec. Okay, so that's not root, so that's cool. Am I a guild leader, Blood Legion? No, I'm not. I'm a raid leader. Let's see. Okay, so kind of caught up with these. I see Veld finally decided to show up. I think she's had a few days off. Hopefully she's enjoyed her vacation, being casual. She's back to work, so that's good to know. So you guys don't give her a hard time, or do so. It's up to you. Anyways, back to the blue post here. Kind of talked about the druid stuff here, and it says here they get into it. You know, we understand that as players you want to minimize the randomness of tanking. That makes you good tanks, but as designers, randomness has its place. That's true. Randomness does have its place. I mean, I don't want to read it verbatim, but I mean it's kind of. You kind of have to get the full effect. You know, tanking with randomness eliminated would be static and repetitive. This is true. You wouldn't have any O-snap moments where you or your healer had to use a cooldown. You can predict, or you could probably predict it from the first ball swing when you'd win or lose the fight. Okay, and I agree with. It says, of course, they don't want tanking to be brutally frustrating, but we don't want it to be boring either. You know what I mean? So I agree with everything that they're saying here. It's just like, yes, 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 someone understands, you know what I mean? GC, he's pretty spot on with a lot of stuff. I know some stuff he does, it's just like, oh my god, what's he thinking? But, I mean, this post right here is pretty much spot on across the board, minus the Paladin changes. I think that still needs to revisit and things like that. just to finish it off here, we understand that long-term protection warriors. Let me throw this back in chat. People are asking for a link. Just go to it, okay? We understand that long-term protection warriors aren't yet feeling that frantic button mashing playstyle, which they have become familiar. We're experimenting with a new proc currently called Ultimatum, in which Devastate has a chance to make the next Heroic Strike or Cleave free, which would be good because right now you're not going to use your Rage on the Heroic Strike. I mean, let's be serious. With either keeping up Shield Block or Spell Barrier, whatever this shit's called. I'm horrible with names. The Magic Reduction component. If it's between one of those two, you're going to pick one of those two. You're not going to Heroic Strike, okay? I mean, it's just what it is what it is. So that's why you need to make Devastate. I think that's a good change. Having the proc a free Heroic Strike, because no one in their right mind is really going to be using Heroic Strike, okay? We don't want to return Devastate to the sorted board. However, Shield Slam and therefore sorted board provide Rage, which is a mitigation resource now because it provides resources to spend on your Spell Barrier and your Shield Block. Having Devastate lead to better mitigation would mean you had to prioritize the no cooldown Devastate above any other attacks such as Stormbolt. Hopefully Ultimatum implementation will deliver the fish for procs feeling of the old sorting board while giving the off tank blah blah blah. So yeah, I agree with exactly what they're saying there. And then to wrap this paragraph up, so they say we don't think it's critical that all tanks have the same number of character cooldowns. In fact, doing so would make tanks play too similarly. We actually feel we want to give them the reach on character. I was actually thinking about this the other day, okay? I don't think that Blizzard needs to, and I was saying about this after we made the spreadsheet, you know what I mean? I don't think that everything on this spreadsheet, you know, we as a tanking community, we don't need to campaign for everything to be the same. It's not like I want the same cooldowns that a warrior has and just playing a Death Knight instead. You know what I'm saying? I think what they need to do is give each person its own version of something. You know what I mean? I don't want everything to be the same, but shit needs to... If you're going to give one tank a raid cooldown, you need to have all tanks having a raid cooldown. Because what happens if you have some tanks with a raid cooldown and some tanks without, if you're on super hard progression fights, you're basically alienating the classes without a raid cooldown as long as the tanks that do have a raid cooldown are able to do something. So I think that it's a fine balance that they're going to have to go down and make sure that you understand, you know what I mean? Because like I can say it through experience. A Paladin having a DSAC versus a Death Knight that doesn't have anything, you're basically shit out of luck. When a tank's sitting, it's going to be the guy with no raid cooldown. No one in their right mind is going to sit someone who can provide a 20% damage reduction on a 3-minute cooldown, basically a power word barrier almost to the raid. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do that. You pick the tank with the raid CD. So I'm not saying that raid cooldowns have to be equal, where you have a DK right now with AMZ, you have a warrior with a rallying cry, so you got one right there. You got one with magic mitigation, you've got one with, you know, extra HP. You've got the monk right now with reduced damage, the a old school version of the DSAC, and the druid and the paladin don't really have anything. You know, I mean, you can make the argument that a druid has stampeding roar. That's not really doing shit for you as far as mitigation, but it is offering raid utility. But you know, the paladin's just high and dry at the moment. So I mean, you don't want them to be the same, but you don't want them to be, you know, imbalanced either, if that makes any sense. Okay, let's see here. And they say, provided each tank can tank content within the game with a reasonably similar amount of effort, we give everyone a last stand and show wall equivalent to try to have another option or two. Okay, it says it's okay that blood DKs have a lot of cooldowns. This has always been the DK thing, as long as they aren't that much more effective than other tanks. Okay, so thumbs up, high five for the DKs. All right, let's keep it that way. But, you know, I don't really, this goes back to it, like, how are they saying that they have monks having a shield wall right now? Are they talking about the meditation? Okay, the only thing I can think of is maybe they're going to have a glyph for meditation that makes it reduce, it reduces the damage that you take by 50%, but it's not channeled and it no longer breaks on melee. You know, that's the only thing I can think of that would make that even work. Because, you know, at that point, it would be the same, you know, roughly the same mitigation as a normal tank, and you can pop it and not have to stand still and channel it, and it doesn't break upon melee. Okay, so I mean, yeah, and somebody in before Warriors 2 minutes. Yeah, you guys are your special snowflake, but you know, it is what it is. It also reduces less damage, and you also get wrecked harder than any other tank with you know, with magic damage. Okay, so I mean, there are pros and cons, and that's fine. And then you see later here, They talk about Rallying Cry and Last Stand Alone share cooldown. That's another bonus for a warrior. And then things like that. I actually didn't read through this. Let's take a look at that. I didn't see this one. This guy here says it brings druids and warriors closer together. The paladins will be left in the dust. That's actually what I said earlier, so this will be a pretty good answer to read, I guess. Warriors will be block capped. I really like the concept of shield tanks block capping with their active mitigation up, but paladins need to get similar treatment. Oh, this is exactly what I said. Let's see. We're only talking about 6 seconds, though. That's not many boss attacks. The optimal situation for warriors around 3 attacks that do 6% less damage, where the paladin is 1 at 75% and 2 at 50%. But that's not true, because you're not guaranteeing that you're blocking those, so I'm not really sure. The worst situation with a paladin or the warrior would be 3 attacks at 30%, and the worst situation with the paladin would be 1 attack at 75%. The chance of the paladin having the worst case situation should be lower, though. Yeah, I do not. The numbers may not be perfect yet, but they seem within the realm of tuning. I do agree with that statement. I don't know. I don't really know what he's thinking though, because like the warrior, it's constant. It's constant block from your shield block. The paladin, you're still open. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you're mitigating more damage passively, but you're not guaranteed to mitigate any damage. So I mean, it's like where the warrior, you're guaranteed to mitigate something by at least 30%, but the paladin, you may take a full hit. You may take a full 100% hit. I don't think that makes sense at all, and we'll see. Okay, let's see. So instead of automatically proccing Savage Defense, I hit a button that maybe will have it proc. In a nutshell, that's really the equivalent of the warrior hitting shield block. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool stuff. All right, that is. I mean, this is a good thread. I want to link it one more time. I've already linked it like 20 times. You guys make sure to read it, and then we'll get to some questions. We've got about, we've got about 15 minutes left of Q&A and stuff here. Did I comment on communism's EXP idea? I'll have to repost it. I didn't see it, to be honest with you. So repost that, Pikachu, if you can. Do I believe that Druid tanks will receive a magical damage reduction ability akin to Shield Barrier for warriors to bring all the tanks more proactive? The Druid doesn't necessarily need something like that because the Druid has lots of self heals. It's going to have more. It's going to have more self heals as well as more HP and things like that. You know, you're going to have Frenzy Regen, which you can combat the burst magic damage. Not every tank has to be able to mitigate it. Your mitigation may be in the form of rehealing. Healing through it. Okay, magical damage is a completely different animal than physical damage. Okay, that's why it's such a big deal about the blocking thing compared to like magic damage intake. Because magic damage intake, it's never like physical damage. You know, physical damage is just like boom, 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 in your face 24/7. There's not many boss fights where that's the case with magical damage. 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, your tank is going to be more concerned with the physical damage intake as opposed to the magical damage, with few fights being an exception. In those few fights, you can usually cool down your way around it. Okay. Sinner's birthday is today. Oh, man. Happy birthday. I didn't even know that. Warriors need a less than 2-minute CD. Yes and no. I mean, their shield wall being on a 2-minute cooldown is pretty good. I see Goomba and Veiled have made up, so that's always positive. I like seeing people enjoy each other's company. So you two are 2 peas in a pod. Group hug it out. Let's see. I mean, I know what you're saying though. Like, you know, every tank has a 1-minute CD almost, except a warrior. You know, I don't really know. They never really have, so who knows? Maybe they'll end up adding something, or maybe not. How do I feel about symbiosis for druids? I don't know. It's too early to tell. I can't really give you a definitive answer on that. It's just the simple fact that you're basically gaining an ability and giving someone else an ability. It's like, why would you not have a druid tank in the raid? I don't really know how they're going to balance that, because it's just like this huge, huge deal. Say you have a Blood Death Knight and a Guardian Druid. the Death Knight is getting survival instincts from the Druid, and the Druid is getting, I think it's Icebound or some shit from the DK. So both tanks have 2 shield walls. Why and how does that make any sense? You're going to have tanks where it's like, oh, we can't do this unless we have a Druid tank in the raid. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't really think that it's going to stick. This guy posted here, save the tanks. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know. This is just probably goes back. I'll read it later, but I think it just goes down to, you know, what. That's the stupidest advertisement I've ever seen in my life. Actually, it's kind of off topic, but oh my god, that's retarded. But yeah, I mean, the only way that you're going to, the only way that you're going to make, you know, threat stats or damage stats appealing to a tank is just penalize them, you know, ridiculously for not having them. That's the only thing only way that I could see them being as good as defensive stats. Do I think they'll completely I just think that they're going to rework Symbiosis, or they may just scrap it altogether. Okay. This guy says, I saw in the spreadsheet you might have not seen Thick Hide for Guardian. It also gives 25% magic reduction on the beta. Are you talking about passive or what? Yeah, I didn't really look at that. So, Lucas, what are you talking about? Is that just like a passive 25% on a Druid all around? I didn't catch that. I'll have to add it. Okay. Do you think that having Savage Defense up for 6 seconds or having no chance to get a damage reduction? I'm not sure what exactly that question means. Okay. Yeah, I mean, anything that's passive, that's fine. You know, a Druid's got the passive magic mitigation. Other tanks do too. That's not really anything that you're going to put on there. It's not a cooldown. The spreadsheet's more about balancing cooldowns and whatnot. Do you feel that all tanks will have less passive stuff going on beta equally? Yeah, I mean, they're pretty... I mean, it's pretty non-passive at the moment. The only passive anything was the Druid Savage, or the Druid's Mastery in combination with the Savage Defense, and they're kind of changing that, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if anything, the Druid is still the only one that is somewhat passive, because it's still just flat-out armor increase on their Mastery, whereas a Warrior, a Paladin, a Death Knight, and a Monk are all just increasing chances of a percentage, you know what I mean? So a Druid's the only thing that's constant as far as Mastery goes. Okay. No, yeah, look, man, you guys think that I'm not understanding what I'm talking about. I do understand what I'm talking about. If you go back and you read this, I get it, okay? I understand that when you pop shield block, you are blocking one attack, guaranteed for 75%. I get it, okay? Listen to me. I understand that, okay? That doesn't matter. Okay, the Paladin has a chance to take a full 100% hit. The Warrior has 0% chance. Zero. None. Nada. Zilch. The Warrior has a 0% chance to take a full hit. Does that make sense to you? Zero. None. Zilch. Nada. 0% chance to take a full hit. A Paladin can still get face melted after the one guaranteed hit that he spends 3 holy power. Sure, grats, you're guaranteed to block 1 hit, okay? Then you're basically rolling the dice. I'm going to take more, I'm going to mitigate more if I do get hit, or I'm just going to get face melted. You know what I mean? Like, that is the difference. And that it doesn't take a rocket surgery person to figure it out. You know, you don't have to be a fucking scientist, okay? The gap is open for a Paladin to get murked. So, you know, it is what it is. Maybe you should reread this and understand exactly what's happening, okay? Because, sure, you're going to be able to wog yourself or anything like that, but, I mean, it's not going to help you if you just get, you know, almost globaled or comboed during that time frame, of which you're unable to block anything, okay? Let's see. All right. It is what it is. Okay, some people just, I guess, don't understand it. They just go play it, and it'll make sense. All right. All in all, though, went over quite a bit of the beta changes. We'll have to see. I'm not sure why my beta isn't working, but it actually didn't even really matter. We didn't need to be on beta for any of this. I do want to get it working, though, and things like that. This is on my Twitter. This this layout, this spreadsheet, and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and post it in here one more time, and you guys can check it out and all that stuff. So it's got a lot of good info, and we'll keep this updated and things like that. All right, and we'll be going over this several times, at least once a week, because I mean it's an ever-changing thing and things like that. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up for today, unless somebody else has anything as far as the show goes. What I want you guys to do, I want you guys to do me a favor. I'm almost at 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and I know this is not like it's I'm not begging anybody. This isn't a stream where you're going to find people begging you for money. If you guys are new to this stream, do me a favor and hit follow. Okay, you can hit follow on my stream in the top left, and if you can, please subscribe to my YouTube. All right, and like I said, this isn't a stream where you find somebody begging for money or anything like that. I'm here quite often. At least, pretty much 5 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 7. It just depends on what's going on. I'm here giving you guys info on all this stuff, and all I'm asking you to do is help me help you. I'll keep streaming. I'll keep providing this info. All these shows that I end up doing will be put on my YouTube, okay, and things like that. So if you guys can, please, if you haven't done it already, please subscribe to my YouTube. And, yeah, and, this is the kind of stuff that helps me help you. Let's see where we're at. We go from 925. I want to be able to hit 1K here pretty soon. So I mean, we've got a lot of different playlists on here. I've got some Riggs reaction from the raids. These are just funny stuff. And then we've got some more serious stuff. The myth stuff. That's where stuff like we're talking about today is going to be uploaded. That's a playlist full of that. And then we've got the heroic Dragon Soul boss walkthroughs. If you're going to do any boss on heroic, you need to watch these walkthroughs because it goes as in depth as any other guide that you're going to find. Okay. Am I partnered on Twitch? Yes, I am. Okay. And then we've got special guest interviews from Fridays, and I mean, there's just all kind of stuff. It's all organized pretty well. I keep them all, in line with the playlist that they need to be. So please subscribe to my YouTube and things like that. So thanks again for watching. If you guys have any questions that I haven't answered, or you may come up with, while you're, taking a shit in the morning, and you're like, man, I wonder what Rig thinks about this. For whatever weird reason you would be thinking about me at that moment, go ahead and post it on my Twitter. Okay. My Twitter is this right here. You can post on my Twitter, and I'll get back to you when I can. All right. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff. May have some stuff going on. May have some stuff going on tonight. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But for right now, I'm going to go chill out for a bit, find out what's going on. If we get some raids coming back, I'll turn the stream back on and things like that. But for now, we've got the team page you guys can check out. We got Affinity Stream. Dexter, Opti, Bond, all those guys. I mean, somebody's streaming on the team channel at all times, so make sure you have the BL Gaming team channel documented. And I'm on quite a bit, and you guys can hop on here and check out what's going on. So again, thanks for watching the stream. I'm going to chill out for a bit, run a couple commercials, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Okay, good talk.